Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a new edition of the Daily Debate. Tonight's show, we're going to shed light on the Egyptian Central Bank statement regarding Egypt's foreign reserve should be covering up the next 6 months' worth of imports. Now, at the end, of January 2017, the foreign reserves amounted to $26.3 billion, as opposed to the end of December of 2016, which amounted to $24.2 billion. We're going to be talking about this topic in details for tonight's episode. But before we start, let's take this phone call regarding the meeting between President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi and the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres. And we're going to be talking about what really took place in this meeting and what should we be looking forward to. And joining us now over the phone is Dr. Mohammed Al-Arabi, the former Minister of Foreign Affairs. Dr. Arabi, can you hear us?
Hi, how are you, sir?
I'm very well. Dr. Arabi, first of all, now, what would you say is the significance of the tour held by Antonio Guterres, the UN Secretary General, among meeting a lot of Arab leaders and meeting President al-Sisi right now?
Well, I think it is a timely visit and very important and significant that the new Secretary General, he came to the Arab world in order to try to pave the way for new solutions for the conflicts which is now prevailing in the region. And he addressed in particular, the Middle East peace process and the Palestinian question. And he was emphasizing, on the notion of the two-state solution. And I think it is also this is a timely, I would say, statement by him, because now Mr. Netanyahu is in Washington, D.C., and he just met, with President Trump. And there is some talks about, the new peace process, I would say, approach. And so it's very good that the UN Secretary General, is trying to re-emphasize the notion which is now addressed and even endorsed by the Arab world in order to have the two-state solution and to guarantee to have the Palestinian state side by side with the Israel state. And also he addressed in his meetings within the, or let's say in his speech in the Cairo University, the youth, empowerment in the world, and I think it was a very good speech. And he also talks about the moderate Islam and the tolerance in our religion, and how even there is some, I would say, good instructions according to Islam how to deal with the refugees and to tackle this issue according to the Islamic law. So I think the man, he also, recognized that Egypt was behind his, I would say, choice or her election, his election as the Secretary General. And I think Egypt endorsed his, candidates since he was touring the whole world in order to get support from certain countries. And I think Egypt was one of them. And I think this is a clear recognition that Egypt, played an important role to choose him as the UN Secretary General. So I guess to have a good relation with the new Secretary General, I think this is a great idea. And Minister Sameh Shukri, he was also, involved in this visit, and the Foreign Ministry at large. So I think it was important, significant, and it might have a new impetus for the Middle East peace process.
Well, Dr. Arabi, do you feel that now with this tour of Guterres meeting a lot of world leaders and meeting President al-Sisi, do you feel that the UN is having a different approach or a strategy in tackling the different crises in the world, as opposed to the strategies that were followed under former UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon?
Well, I think it's a very good question. I think we are in, a new world order now is prevailing in the world. We have a new, let us say, administration in USA. We have also the Russian involvement in many conflicts in the world, and we have also the rising of the right wing in Europe. So I think we should wait a little bit to see how things, will settle down and what is the new world order which we are, let's say, anticipating now. And but anyway, I think most of the countries now still endorse the important role of the UN, and it should play a pivotal role in all the conflicts. But unfortunately, some conflicts actually it is, controlled by one of the two superpowers, Russia or United States. As you can see, Russia now is involved in Syrian crisis, our Syrian issue, and the UN is now in the second, I would say, degree. It's not the full involvement of this UN organization. So we have to wait a little bit to see how things, will evaluate. And I think we are approaching a new world order, but I think there is a sort of assurance that UN should be the umbrella of all, this kind of issues, and it should be tackled during or under the auspices of the UN.
Well, Dr. Arabi, you've mentioned the New World Order, and you've mentioned that Guterres actually talked about the importance of resolving the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. Now, with a new president within the U.S. administration and a good relationship with the Russian president and a new UN Secretary General, do you feel that maybe serious steps will be taken in actually resolving the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, or are we still going to see the same steps and the same condemnation and the same importance giving to dealing with such a file?
Well, yes, I think you explained in a very good way, the atmosphere which is now prevailing in the world. But don't forget that we have Prime Minister Netanyahu as the chief of the government in Israel, and I think the man, he has a very, I would say, different view towards peace with the Palestinians, and I don't see that we are, approaching a new momentum in this peace process. I think the administration will be, I mean the American administration will be very careful, and according to what came to us from the press conference between Trump and Netanyahu, I think Mr. Trump is trying to accommodate, some Israeli, I would say, principles for the peace process. So it will not be easy, to anticipate that we will have an imminent, peace process in the near future.
Dr. Mohammed Al-Arabi, the former Minister of Foreign Affairs, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, now let's turn our focus to our topic in hand regarding the foreign reserves within the Egyptian Central Bank and also the African Development Bank restructuring the state lender. Let's check out this report and we'll be right back.
Egypt's International Cooperation Minister Sahar Nasr signed a grand deal with the African Development Bank, the AFDB, to restructure the State Nasser Social Bank, the NSB. Under the terms of the deal, Nasser Social Bank will receive 10 million Egyptian pounds as a first stage to improve the financial performance. The NSB, which was founded in 1971 and services low-income Egyptians, is under the siege of the Ministry of Social Solidarity. The bank will be directed to improve the performance through better credit management and improved work rules, according to the Social Solidarity Minister Ghada Wali, who attended the signing of the deal. Wali said that the Nasser Social Bank, which has 90 of the branches nationwide, has had an important social role in Egypt, including providing young people with free yield social loans, financing social housing projects, and other social programs such as providing support to divorced women. According to Wali, the total amount paid to the bank is 245,000 to divorced women in Egypt, which had reached 1 billion Egyptian pounds by 2016.